In this video, I'm going to talk to you about tempo. When you look at your training program, you'll notice that next to the exercises and the reps and the sets, there might be a set of 4 numbers with a little @ symbol in front of them. This is the tempo. When writing your training program, a specific tempo is applied to almost every exercise that I prescribe. Tempo is used to create movement control, to control the dose response and ensure repeatability between workouts. Tempo is written as 4 numbers, and sometimes letters, and indicates the amount of time that should be spent at each individual part of that movement. In each exercise, you will have the eccentric lowering phase, where you are lengthening muscle with gravity. You will also have the isometric contraction, where you are holding the movement static. You will have the concentric upward contraction against gravity, and the movement will be finished with another isometric hold. I've given a few examples here. So from here, for example, a Romanian deadlift, you will be lowering the bar or dumbbells to the count of 3, coming straight back up from the bottom for the count of 1, and stopping at the top for 1 second before you go back in and repeat the exercise. Not all exercises start with the eccentric part of the movement. Some exercises, for example, a single arm dumbbell row, actually start with the muscle already elongated, and the first movement is the concentric contraction of pulling the elbow backwards. However, it will still be written in the same format, starting with the eccentric, then the isometric, then the concentric, and finishing with the isometric. Where the letter X is used instead of a number for concentric, this means an explosive movement as fast as possible for this part of the phase. And when A is used instead, that indicates assistance as part of that phase. So say, for example, an assisted chin-up using resistance band. The eccentric part of the movement could be controlled and lowering down for the count of 3, and then pulling straight up using resistance band and pausing for 1 second at the top. There are a handful of exercises that we don't prescribe tempo for, such as ones where the tempo can't really be controlled, like a kettlebell swing or a box jump. There are also those exercises where we're not actually shortening and lengthening the muscle in the exercise, such as a plank hold. So we would just write the amount of time that you're holding a plank hold for, rather than writing any kind of tempo. We use different tempo to create different time and detention. Time and detention is the amount of time spent in that movement. So we just add up the number of seconds that we're spending in this movement. So say, for example, here, we are spending 2 seconds on the eccentric lowering, 1 second pause, 1 second coming back up in the contraction, and then another 2 seconds in the isometric. So the total time under tension for that exercise would be 6 seconds. Or you could have total time under tension for the entire set, whereby you multiply the number of reps by the number of seconds spent in that exercise. Beginners usually spend the most time under tension, so usually about 30 to 90 seconds per set. You might notice that if you are a beginner to a certain exercise or you're newly starting out, that I'll prescribe around 10 to 15 repetitions of an exercise and longer time under tension. And this is just so that you can really kind of nail the basics and the technique for it and really learn how to control that movement through lots of practice. As a beginner progresses, then their total time under tension will be reduced, either by reducing the number of reps in that set or maybe reducing the tempo of the exercise. People with intermediate level of experience usually spend about 10 to 60 seconds under time under tension per set, and as you move up to advanced, it becomes even shorter. Training in a range beyond this is sometimes appropriate for advanced, but there has to be a real specific reason behind it. So now you definitely know what those numbers mean and why they're important and how to perform an exercise using those numbers. So So just to remind you why we use different tempo, we can use it to really help control a movement. So really get that movement nailed. And we can play around with the tempo, and if there is a certain area that we're struggling in as part of the movement, we can spend longer in that part of the movement until we get it really right. Prescribing tempo also enables us to keep consistency between individual training sessions. And we use tempo to create that specific time and attention and create a specific dose response. So hopefully that's helped you understand a little bit more about your training program and why tempo is used, and also help you decode the tempo so you know how to apply it to the exercise in your program.